Good evening and welcome to this week's news programme, live from the heart of White Regis at 6 p.m. on Saturday the 27th of March. And in the news this week, work is progressing on the works on Weymouth Harbour to provide seating areas for pubs and restaurants customers when the lockdown measures are relaxed on the 12th of April. The scheme will also have designated loading bays for local businesses and fishermen, so it'll be interesting to see how that progresses. Weymouth Al Molo Restaurant, Fish and Fritz and the Nose Fort are among finalists in the South West England Tourism Excellence Awards 2020-2021. There are 75 finalists and the winners will be announced at an online awards ceremony on the 22nd of April. The awards are sponsored by South West Water, and Joe Eckroyd from South West Water said it has certainly been a challenging year for businesses, and we applaud all our finalists for their perseverance in the face of challenges from the pandemic over the past year. Dorset Police has launched a new programme to protect victims of domestic abuse by disrupting, challenging and changing the behaviours of serial offenders and those deemed to be at most high risk. The DRIVE programme, which is delivered by Hampton Trust, is in partnership between Dorset Police, Office of the Dorset Police and Crime Commissioner, Bournemouth and Christchurch and Poole Council and Dorset Council. The first 6 months of the programme is being funded by the Home Office. While many services rightly focused on the support for victims, far less put emphasis on rehabilitation of the offenders so they don't re-offend. DRIVE works directly with the perpetrators to challenge and support changes in attitudes, beliefs and behaviours. With 1 in 10 offenders still living with the victim, this can help to reduce the harm of partners and children and stop cycles of abuse. Dorset Police's Assistant Chief Constable Sam De Rea said, "We need to change the narrative around domestic abuse and stop asking victims why they didn't leave and start asking perpetrators why they didn't stop." That's exactly what the DRIVE programme does. Hampton Trust has done a great job as our delivery partner for the Cautions and Relationships Abuse Project, and I'm really glad we continue that relationship through the DRIVE programme. The RNLI inshore lifeboat from Weymouth was launched on Thursday to go to the aid of a speedboat with 4 persons on board, which had broken down approximately half a mile east of Weymouth Harbour. The lifeboat was on scene at around 8 p.m. in the evening, and the lifeboat crew quickly established that all those on board were safe and well. A line was passed and the speedboat was towed to the town slipway at Commercial Road, where the boat had launched from. The volunteer lifeboat crew advised the speedboat passengers of the dangers of going to sea without wearing life jackets and no VHF radio and no anchor. Not very well prepared, I think. The Coast Guard and police also met with the speedboat crew who had travelled from Andover and offered further safety advice. Dorset Police are working with Dock Bike and Dorset Road Safe Partnership to launch a campaign seeking to buck the trend in springtime biker fatalities. In Dorset, per mile travelled, more motorcyclists will be killed or critically injured than any other road user. Nationally, approximately 10 motorcyclists are killed or seriously injured every day. Dr. Ian Mew, who's an intensive care consultant and a rider of DocBike, explains, "The problem is the human brain is not very good at seeing small objects travelling towards it at speed. A high proportion of motorcycle collisions on Dorset roads occur when another vehicle pulls out into the path of a motorcycle which is unable to stop in time. Furthermore, because motorcyclists and cyclists don't have a roll cage, seat belts or airbags, they are often seriously injured or killed when involved in a collision. We want to keep people alive on Dorset's roads, and to do that we need all road users to be aware of why motorcyclists get knocked off their bikes." In an effort to prevent the road deaths across the county, all road users are being encouraged to take that extra bit of time, particularly at junctions, and think bike. The campaign, which is called Think Bike, Have You Been Seen?, runs from the 1st of April until the 31st of October 2021 and will see unique road signs in key locations where many motorcyclists have been injured in Dorset to date. Dr. Ian Mew, who himself is a keen motorcyclist, spends a lot of his spare time going out on his bike to serious accidents on the road to help. He also volunteers for the air ambulance, and I personally was fortunate enough to be under his care a few years ago when unfortunately I had to spend quite a bit of time in intensive care at Dorset County Hospital. He is totally committed to not only treating those injured on the road, but reducing and stopping fatalities wherever possible. Councillors on Dorset Council's Cabinet are set to discuss recommendations at this meeting on the 6th of April, which could see approvals for banning these things I'm just going to put up on the screen now. These disposable barbecues at certain places across Dorset, particularly where there is a high fire risk. The proposals do not recommend a blanket ban on disposable barbecues for the whole county, only in areas which are known to be high fire risk, such as in forests, grasslands or on protected heathland. The report to Cabinet asks councillors to consider a range of options which would form part of an overall strategy for the management of disposable barbecues. The council will work alongside its partners, Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue, to implement and communicate any changes. Group Manager Darren Langdown from Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue said, large wildfires can be very serious and quickly affect large areas of countryside. They also take a great deal of resources to bring under control, which can impact on the availability of appliances for property fires, road traffic collisions, assisting our colleagues during the coronavirus pandemic and other emergencies. He added that the 2020 Wareham Forest Fire saw over 200 firefighters from across Dorset and Wiltshire and from neighbouring services deal with over 220 hectares of forest alight. This is believed to have been caused by a disposable barbecue. The incident took over 10 days to bring under control and was subject to multiple reignitions due to the nature of the terrain and the weather conditions. Last year, there were 74 recorded fires that are known to have been caused by irresponsible use of disposable barbecues, devastating damage to the inhabitants of heathlands and forests. Political and business leaders have welcomed the fact that rural Dorset, and let me get the right picture up if I can find it, here we go. The rural Dorset will be among the first areas in the country to benefit from the government's new £5 billion gigabit broadband fund. It follows months of behind-the-scenes lobbying for better broadband for Dorset, led by West Dorset MP Chris Loader and Dorset Council's Deputy Leader, Councillor Peter Wolfe. The funding will be directed at the county's hardest to reach and most poorly served areas. Councillor Wolfe said this is fantastic news for Dorset. To be one of the first areas in the country to benefit from this funding is testament to the groundwork we put in place and our talks with ministers. Improving connectivity is essential for ensuring the county can prosper, and that's why it's one of the top priorities of both the Dorset Council Plan and the Economic Growth Strategy. Dorset has almost 96% super fast coverage, that's the next level down, thanks to the council's partnership with Openreach, which began 9 years ago. However, when it comes to the next generation of gigabit capable broadband, that's the really fast stuff, we only have 7% coverage compared to an average of 38% nationally. There we go. Hopefully that will improve. The Range is planning to open a new store in Weymouth. We've mentioned this before, but it will open next month. The new store will be located on the site of the old Edmunds in New Bond Street and is due to open on Friday the 30th of April. In line with current government guidelines, additional safety measures will be in place when the store opens. The new branch will be creating 80 full-time and part-time jobs with roles varying from store management to warehouse staff, which is sure to have a positive impact on the local community. Excuse me. The new Weymouth store will also provide great value products and everyday essentials from cleaning supplies, health and beauty necessities and DIY products. And the much loved Costa on the ground floor is staying and will be open to give somebody a comfortable space for a coffee. A new American themed restaurant opens its doors in Dorchester, or has opened its doors in Dorchester, and its owners have revealed that they have agreed contracts to launch another venue in Weymouth next month. Jobs have been created with the opening of Funkin' Fries, which bosses say will provide something unique to the towns. The first outlet, based in South Street, Dorset, will serve an American-themed menu including loaded fries, burgers, hot dogs, milkshakes, with co-owner Aaron Brader describing its style as Willy Wonka-esque. Now, I really wonder what Willy Wonka-esque is. I mean, Willy Wonka is all about chocolate to me, so it'll be very interesting to see what the restaurants are like. Aaron Brader will run the new Dorset restaurant alongside his business partner, Andy Phillips. With so many businesses closing down due to the pandemic, it's great that we can provide public with something new. This is what they've gone on to say. There's been challenges opening the new restaurants during the pandemic, but the past few months have also given us time to concentrate on getting everything sorted. Now, the two co-owners have one eye on the new restaurant opened in Dorchester, but have the other eye keenly on their second Dorset site in Weymouth, which opens next month. And finally, in the headlines tonight, and I've got a picture to go with this one. Here we go. It's time once again to tune in to watch a pair of barn owls nesting and raising their chicks at Lawton Meadows. Dorset Wildlife Trust has installed cameras to enable you to watch a nesting pair of barn owls. You should also be able to watch the chicks develop until they leave the nest. If you're interested in that, the website is www.dorsetwildlifetrust.org.uk/wildlife-webcam. Well, there we go. That's our headlines tonight. Our first article tonight sees us talking to the second candidate standing for our local elections in May. This week I met to speak with Joanna Dickinson, who is standing for the Conservative Party. So we're here again this week in our series of talking to our prospective candidates for the White Regis elections coming up in May. And this week I'm joined by Joanna Dickinson, who is the Conservative candidate, and we're very grateful for Joanna coming along and speaking to us this evening. So why are you standing for the local election in Wyke?
Right, having worked in White Regis for over 20 years, I owned a dental surgery on the Portland Road. A lot of the White residents supported my practice through that time, and I just feel it's time that I gave something back to the White residents, and that's why I'd like to stand and try and help people.
And what do you think are the key priorities for the ward of White Regis?
I'm very conscious during this last year because of COVID-19 how it's affected the White Regis residents. Having spoken to a lot of elderly residents on the phone, I'm very conscious that they feel isolated and abandoned. I'm also very concerned about the young people in the ward because they've missed a lot of their education. I am an EEA, which is an education enterprise advisor at the local secondary school, and I'm trying to sort of help the young people fulfill their potential. My family call me BP because I'm very passionate about getting benches, beaches, bins, potholes, dog poo and potholes fixed. So that's why they call me that.
What do you think our town council does well?
Beaches, because they are very, very well maintained, and I think it sort of is great for the tourism in the area.
And looking on the other side then, what do you think the town council doesn't do quite so well?
I don't think you can really judge in this last year. It's been really difficult for any town council throughout the country. I think also as well because Weymouth and Portland, it's a virtually new council. I don't think they've been sort of given enough time to perhaps get things done that I'm hoping that they're going to do, and that's why I want to go on the council and perhaps assist them in all these things.
And if elected to represent White Regis, what areas of policy would you like to influence on the town council?
Well, I have been led to believe, because I am fairly new to this, that town councils very limited in what they can do, but my passions, if it's in their remit, are housing, especially social housing. I think the idea of affordable housing has only been marginally successful, and I think, quite frankly, you need to sort of build stuff for our young people, because there are a lot of people in Weymouth and Portland that, quite frankly, don't earn high wages. The other thing I'm very conscious about is jobs. I would really, really, really like to get employers down into the area and create much needed jobs.
And I guess finally the most important question, why should the people of White Regis vote for you in the elections in May?
Well, because I'm a doer, I'm a stayer. I don't know whether those are proper words, but if I say I'll do something, I try and stick to it and see it through. And also as well, I feel that because I've worked in this area for so long, I do feel part of the community, and I do think after all this COVID has finished that we do need to get back as a community and try and make White Regis the best place to live for everybody.
So thank you very much, Joanna. Thank you for joining us today. And as I say, this is our second in our series of interviews with the prospective candidates. We hope to speak to any other candidates that are standing in the next few weeks ahead, and maybe we will return and speak to them again just before the elections. And the idea being that you, the people of White Regis, have got a good idea of all the people who are standing, and you've seen who they are and know what their thoughts and views are and what they stand for. There we go. That was me talking to the prospective Conservative candidate for the White Regis ward in the Town Council elections, Joanna Dickinson. I say we hope to speak to the other candidates in the weeks ahead. I also learnt this week that the food bank, which has been located at St Edmunds Church throughout the pandemic, serving White Regis and Lanehouse, is to close its doors soon. But it's not all bad news, as it's actually hoping to change into something new. So I went along this morning to talk to Brother Alistair, rector of White Regis Parish, who has been the energy behind the food bank and who has led the band of volunteers who've operated the food bank over the last year. So good morning everyone, I'm here at All Saints Church, or Eightside All Saints Church, on a lovely sunny day with Brother Alistair, and I'm here to talk with him about the St Edmunds Food Bank. So Brother Alistair, how busy has the St Edmunds Food Bank been?
Well, it's varied, if I'm truthful. When we initially started, we had a sort of trickle of people, then suddenly it really turned into quite a rush over the second part of the first lockdown, and in the second lockdown and the beginning of the third lockdown. But it seems like things have changed over the last couple of months, that there's a ever decreasing number of people coming to us, and it also seems that people are sort of stabilizing and they're finding their way through. I think the important thing to say is that, of course, we haven't functioned in isolation, so we set ourselves up. Just initially we thought we were just opening for about 12 weeks. Never expected to be open for 12 months. And so what we discovered was that 3 new food banks opened in Weymouth, but more importantly the social supermarket, the Nest, opened, and the food hub as well. So what we are seeing is an increasing number of outlets, and so the need for our food bank has decreased significantly.
And I guess there's been a lot of volunteers and people helping with the food bank. What sort of numbers of people have you had helping, and where have they come from?
Initially, with the pandemic, of course, we were having to use a lot of volunteers because we were having to spend a whole morning washing food and a whole morning packing food and then another day distributing food. Now we're able to do that all in one morning. So we've seen a range from between 15 volunteers over a week to now about 5 or 6 volunteers.
And I guess you're very grateful for all the
more than
volunteers.
Well, and I think also there's other things. It's like there's the people who are actually in the hall doing the distribution, but there's also the backroom staff in terms of fundraising, collecting food, people who've been managing the money, etc., etc., etc. So very grateful for, and more than anything, donors. I mean, people have been incredibly generous. Salisbury Diocese, the local authority, but actually it's been local residents who have been the main donors, so people within the church and wider afield. I think I want to big up Morrison's. They've been very good to us, certainly in the earlier parts of the pandemic, in terms of supplying us with food. So, and Weymouth Food Hub as well have been fabulous in terms of helping us out in terms of seeing not just physical food coming in, but also for those who've donated financially. So I want to say a huge thank you to you for that.
Now, we hear that the plan is to shut the food bank down in the weeks ahead, and I guess that is really because the numbers are dropping and therefore the need for it is either going away or the need is changing.
Yeah, I think the need is changing. Most of the people who were initially coming to us in an emergency are now in the benefit system. They're getting some support, and so what we've been able to do is redirect people to the Nest, the social supermarket, or if there is a real desperate need, they can get an emergency food parcel from the 4 or 5 other food banks in Weymouth. But the key thing is that actually we've been able to move things on. What we're wanting to do now is actually, and subject to talking with the church PCC and all the rest of it, is creating a new project with something that I did when I was up in Derby, but I want to see it happen here, is something called a resilience cafe. And on one level, it's just a cafe. There's no more, no less. It's a place where people can come and get beans on toast and a cup of tea at lunchtime, or soup, or whatever it might be. But it's much, much more than that. The key things that the Resilience Cafe will do is it creates a place of community. It creates a place where it helps to break down loneliness. And it could also become something where things like people could get some debt advice, or they can get some hand filling in forms if they're struggling with that. It could be a place where actually we could give some very, very low level mental first aid to people as well, in terms of their mental health. But really, my vision for the church is this, that actually the church becomes a place where the community is supported. So one of the things I'm really hoping and praying will come with the Resilience Cafe is that we won't just be looking to take care of people's physical needs or their emotional, societal needs, but very much their spiritual needs as well. So it'll be a place where somebody will be able to pray with you, somebody will be able to kind of support you if you're having a bad day, or someone to rejoice with you. So my hope is that out of this idea of the Resilience Cafe, a sense of growing depth of the community will grow, and all sorts of other things might eventually come out of it. So that would be my real hope and prayer for the Resilience Cafe.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing those plans with us today. So, good news story. Food Bank has been very successful over the last year. Lots of input from church members and the community in running it. The need is changing, and a new plan is on the horizon to have a Resilience Cafe. So watch this space. We'll be sharing information on that with you in the weeks ahead. There we go. So that's news on the food bank and its changing role in the weeks and months ahead to a Resilience Cafe. Sounds interesting, particularly if you can get beans on toast and a cup of tea at lunchtime and go out for a chat, because there's obviously much need for that in our area. Next this evening, we're going to catch up on what our intrepid virtual walkers have been doing over the last week. And you'll probably remember last week that they were heading towards Salisbury, but didn't quite get there. So let's see what happened to them over the last week.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's update on our lockdown walk. Do you remember last week we didn't quite make it to Salisbury and spent the night at Collingbourne Duchess? Monday morning up we got and walked to Salisbury, one of my very favourite places. We spent some time there, looking at the river, looking at the cathedral, and just enjoying the peace of it all. Then we walked almost due south to Poole Quay and a ferry to Brownsea Island, with a guided tour by Julia Moore, who knows the island very well. We were lucky enough to spot a few red squirrels and then got back to the boat ready to go to the mainland. The SAS were dashing about the harbour on jet skis, so of course Ali had to have a go too. From Poole we headed deep into the Dorset countryside and Golden Hill at Shaftesbury, then on to Yeovil, where Ali had to be persuaded not to ask for a ride in a helicopter, as we needed to move on to Glastonbury and a stroll to the top of the Tor. Then on to Dunster, with its castle on the hill. A wander along the North Devon coast took us past Barnstaple, via Woolacombe, and on to the fascinating village of Clovelly, where the groceries are delivered down the steep slope on sledges, as the road isn't suitable for motor vehicles. Then we visited Boscastle, and on to Tintagel Castle, where we made good use of the new bridge which makes the castle accessible to all. Doc Martin fans were interested to visit Port Isaac, where the TV series is filmed, and then on to Padstow. We looked at the menu in Rick Stein's restaurant, but decided it was a little outside our price range. By popular request, we turned south to visit the Eden Project, with its tropical rainforest and Mediterranean biomes, and reminded us all of the need to take care of the planet. The next stop was Newquay, so that Ali could practice surfing. Then on to St Ives, where of course we went to Tate St Ives and to the Barbara Hepworth Museum to admire her wonderful sculptures. We also had a wander around the narrow streets, admiring the art on sale in galleries and private houses. After that, just a short walk and we'd be back to Land's End. Let's watch Jeff's report and see if we made it. Now we just need to get home. We thought we might take a pilgrimage for Holy Week back along the south coast, visiting cathedrals and churches along the way, until we arrive at All Saints' Church on Good Friday. There we can sing a nice hymn, say a few prayers, and then go home to enjoy the rest of Good Friday. And probably have a good rest. Bye for now.
Well, thanks Janet and Jeff for that update, and we'll see how they get on the way back to Weymouth next week. But it does remind me what a wonderful area we live in, with places like Brangsea, Golden Hill and Salisbury round to the east and the north. And some of my favourites, maybe we might see next week, places like Abbotsbury Hill and Abbotsbury and the coast route back into Weymouth. Well, have you remembered what's happening tonight when we're all in bed? Well, if you haven't, it's best to take notice that the clocks go forward tonight by 1 hour. Our reporter Lydia has been this week looking at the history of why the clocks go forward and what happens specifically to our most iconic clock in the UK, Big Ben.
So have you remembered what happens tonight when we go to bed? It's that time of year when we put the clocks forward. The actual change happens during the night, so you will probably be fast asleep when it happens. When the clocks change, we are moving from Greenwich Mean Time, GMT, to British Summer Time, BST, also known as Daylight Saving Time. Thankfully, most smartphones, computers, and other devices in our homes connected to the internet normally update the time automatically, as do many modern clocks. But if you have a watch or clock that isn't digital, don't forget to change it and put it forward an hour before you go to bed. So why do we change the clocks? An American politician and inventor called Benjamin Franklin first came up with the idea while in Paris in 1784. He suggested that if people got up earlier, when it was lighter, then it would save on candles. But it arrived in the UK after a builder called William Willett thought it was a good idea too. Willett was a keen golfer and he got cross when his games would be cut short because the sun went down and there wasn't enough light to carry on playing. In 1907, he published a leaflet called The Waste of Daylight, encouraging people to get out of bed earlier. But things did not change as a result of Willett's suggestion. The idea of moving the clocks forwards and backwards was discussed by the government in 1908, but many people didn't like it, so it wasn't made a law. Willett spent his life trying to convince people that it was a good idea, but it was only introduced in the UK in 1916, a year after he died. During World War II, the UK actually used what was called British double summer time when the clocks were ahead by an extra hour during the summer. But this didn't last for very long. Now, the UK's clocks always go back by 1 hour on the last Sunday in October and forward by 1 hour on the last Sunday in March. So before you go to bed tonight, don't forget to put those clocks forward, so whatever you are doing tomorrow you do it at the right time. One clock we will all know is Big Ben, which is recognised throughout the world. A few years ago the UK Parliament made a short video showing how Big Ben is changed.
So here we are, we're at the top of the great clock of Westminster, getting ready to put the clocks forward. We've already silenced the chime mechanism and we've silenced the strike mechanism, and we're now just about to turn the dial lights off.
Once the dial lights are off, we then advance the hands to what would be the new midnight. While this is going on, we will then carry out maintenance on the clock itself, which involves cleaning, oiling and looking for any defects of the clock.
The official time change is at 2 o'clock in the morning. We actually start the clock at 12 o'clock, new time. This gives us a chance to get it as accurate as we can, so when it starts chiming and striking for the first time at 2 o'clock, it would be nice and accurate. So we're now just getting ready to start the clock. My colleague's going to count me down and we'll just start the mechanism going. That's it. So the clock is now ticking again. So at this point we switch the dial lights back on and it'll start chiming and striking for the British summertime.
There you go. Now, before I get those phone calls, I know that Big Ben is actually the bell, not the clock itself. It's the Great Tower and Big Ben is the bell, but I like to call it Big Ben because everybody recognises it as Big Ben, don't they? So before you ring me and tell me I've got it wrong. Now, something we haven't done for many, many weeks is wished anybody a happy birthday. And people haven't been telling me about birthdays, but I do know of a birthday this week. It's my son Thomas's birthday this week. So I'm going to play Thomas my awful birthday jingle and wish him a happy birthday. There we go. That was especially for Thomas, whose birthday is coming up this week. Those of you that watch our reports each week will have seen many of them produced by Janet Hall. And Janet helps us most weeks with 1 or 2 reports. So thank you, Janet, for all the work you've been doing over the year that we've been running. Janet also produces virtual services, or some of the virtual services, for All Saints and St Edmunds churches. And tonight, Janet is going to share with us a bit of how she prepares these and her thought process on putting them together.
Hello everyone. You know how when they're bringing out a big epic film, you often see trailers saying how we made this film. Well, I'm going to tell you how we made the service that is due to go out on Monday at 5 o'clock, The Way of the Cross. A lot of us are involved, 20 people in all, using various skills and talents to make this service come to life. First of all, I'll tell you a bit about the paintings because that is my part. I started painting pictures of the Stations of the Cross some years ago. In fact, I made a full 15 pictures to go with the Way of the Cross service that we're going to have on Monday. As you can see, I have them all in a folder, The Way of the Cross. And every year I look at it, and sometimes I take one out and think, no, that won't do anymore. I want to say something else, or I want to paint that a little bit better. You see, this isn't just the way of the cross, it's the way of my faith, my journey, both as an artist and as a Christian. The problem for me as an artist is always the gap between what I want to show you, what I want to put down on paper, and what I can actually achieve with the skills that I have. When you look at this one, you might see the hand and say, that doesn't really work. And I know it's true, but what I hope somebody might say is, I can see that sorrow. I've been there. I know what it feels like to despair. And if I could achieve that, then I would be happy. Once the paintings were done, I had to get 15 people to do readings for each of the Stations of the Cross. This is more difficult in lockdown, as each person had to either record them at home and send them to me, or record them with me on Zoom. And then Derek and Carol did some singing, and Joe played the piano beautifully for us, and the whole thing has come together as a wonderful remembrance of Christ's journey to the cross. Now that all the paintings are done for this year's Way of the Cross, I'm thinking about Good Friday. I've been inspired this year by R.S. Thomas's poem, The Coming, which is going to be the main theme of the Good Friday service. In the poem, God shows the sun how sad the world is, how sad and broken. And the sun looks down, and he wants to cure it, to heal it with love. And he says, let me go there. I want to show the picture of the world as R.S. Thomas describes it, but I'm also struggling to show the love and compassion that made God say, let me go there. I've enjoyed sharing my painting experiences with you, and I hope that you will see the services when they come out in Holy Week. And of course there is an opportunity to see some of you in person, both on Maundy Thursday and on Easter Sunday. Not to mention tomorrow. That's something to look forward to. Bye for now.
Thank you, Janet, for sharing how you go through the thought process and involve other people in producing services each week that go out by live stream. And actually, I think people don't realise whether it's services or quizzes or news programmes or all the other things that people are doing across the country, that have happened during lockdown, or singing or producing music. So many good things have happened over the internet, but they do take a lot of time and a lot of effort to produce. And I know Janet in particular has spent an awful amount of time producing material for various things. So thank you to Janet, and thank you to all those other people that have been doing whatever services and facilities that they've been providing for people over the internet. So let's think about the weather and what's going to happen with the weather on the week ahead. So first of all, we go across to the Met Office for the national forecast.
Good afternoon. It's been a mostly fine start to the weekend for many of us, but skies will cloud over through this afternoon and some outbreaks of rain may arrive later across the far northwest. Back to this afternoon though, and there's still some sunshine out there to be enjoyed, particularly further east, a few showers here and there further west, and outbreaks of rain will arrive across western Scotland and Northern Ireland by the end of the day. Temperatures though around average for the time of year, so feeling reasonable in any sunny spells. Winds will though really start to pick up as we go through this evening across the northwest, gales developing in places here, as well as outbreaks of rain arriving from the west, these heavy in places. Temperatures though nowhere near as cold as it was last night, so staying frost-free for most places. Sunday, a much cloudier day to come for many places, some outbreaks of rain through central areas to begin the day, becoming more focused across the northwest by the afternoon, with some brighter skies developing across southern counties of England, and here in any sunny spells it could actually feel quite warm tomorrow. By Monday though, quite a lot of heavy rain developing across western Scotland with a rainfall warning in force here, but Monday and Tuesday look warm and sunny across the south.
So Monday and Tuesday looks sunny across the south. What does the weather hold for us in White Regis and Weymouth in the week ahead? So here we go. Here's the weather forecast. Look at that. 3 days of sunshine. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Those figures on there between 9 and 14 degrees centigrade. There are reports that some of the temperatures may approach 20 degrees on Wednesday this week. So we'll just have to see how that forecast develops. But it looks a dry week ahead, which is the good news, and possibly getting colder again next weekend. Looking at traffic and travel, roadworks are currently underway by Wessex Water in Parkmead Road and Mandeville Road and Overland Road in White Regis. Although it says that delays are unexpected, certainly my experience over the last week or so, or couple of weeks, is that sometimes in Parkmead Road, where work is underway, it does cause delays as vehicles, diggers and things are in the centre of the highway. Wessex Water are also working on Chickerell Road out by Budmouth College, and there very much they do expect delays to happen. On the trains, the engineering works this weekend. There's bus replacing trains between Southampton Central and Salisbury and Poole today and tomorrow, and there's nothing else planned for this weekend or the week ahead, so that's quite unusual. Looking to what's on, we've mentioned that the Noath Fort is opening up again, and the outdoor areas will be open over the Easter period from the 12th to the 18th of April with an Easter egg hunt and other activities for the family, and they plan to open the indoor areas from the 17th of May, things like the museums, etc. The outdoor areas of Weymouth Sea Life Centre also open from the 12th of April, with opportunity to join in with the pirate golf and chances to meet the penguins, seals and the activities that take place around the interactive rock pool, and to meet the otters as well. And Weymouth Pavilion is starting to open up again, and it very much looks like they are starting to fill up their programme from the 21st of May. So do pop along to their website. There's already shows being populated on the website, and it looks like that it's going to be a busy season for them and lots of interesting things on. So now we move on to our film section for this week. Our cinemas in the UK have obviously been closed for the majority of this year, but there is a ray of light on the horizon for anybody craving to see the latest blockbuster on the big screen. Back in February, Prime Minister Boris Johnson outlined the plans for the roadmap for lifting the lockdown in England, and this envisages cinemas being able to reopen after the 17th of May at the earliest. The three major chains in the UK, Cineworld, Odeon and Vue, will likely announce plans for the reopening in the coming weeks. And it looks for sure as if Cineworld is aiming to reopen a lot of its sites on the 17th of May, and that was something that was a bit doubtful at one stage, whether they would actually reopen some of their cinemas. So, what film are we going to look at this week? Well, this week we're going to look at Cruella. Do you remember 101 Dalmatians and the villain, Cruella de Vil? Well, Academy Award winner Emma Stone stars in Disney's Cruella, an all-new live-action feature film about the rebellious early days of one of cinema's most notorious and notoriously fashionable villains, the legendary Cruella de Vil. Cruella, which is set in 1970s London amidst the punk rock revolution, follows a young grifter named Estella, a clever and creative girl determined to make a name for herself with her designs. She befriends a pair of young thieves who appreciate her appetite for mischief, and together they are able to build a life for themselves on the London streets. One day, Estella's flair for fashion catches the eye of the Baroness von Hellman, a fashion legend who is devastatingly chic and terrifyingly haute, played by the two-time Oscar winner Emma Thompson. But their relationship sets in motion a course of events and revelations that will cause Estella to embrace her wicked side and become the raucous, fashionable and revenge-bent Cruella. Cruella is due to come out in May, and we're going to see the trailer for it now.
From the very beginning, I realized I saw the world differently than everyone else. That didn't sit well with some people. But I wasn't for everyone. I guess they were always scared that I'd be a psycho. But a new day brings new opportunities. And I was ready to make a statement. How does the saying go? I am woman, hear me roar. I'm just getting started, darling. The thing is, I was born brilliant, born bad, and a little bit mad. I'm glad that you're sorry. I'm Cruella. No.
There we go, that's Cruella, out in May this year, hopefully on the big screen, but if not, I'm sure it'll be out on the small screen, from Walt Disney and Walt Disney Studios. So it just leaves me to remind you what is happening over the next day or so. First of all, reminder that our quiz programme is on at 7:30 this evening, and you'll be very welcome to join us for that. Our A Year in Gardening is on Friday night at 7 p.m. if you're into the gardening scene. And I know quite good feedback about that. Some people seem to be enjoying that. The services at All Saints Church are open up again for people to attend in person from tomorrow, and St Edmunds Church opens up again the following week on Easter Sunday. However, the Sunday morning service from All Saints Church will continue to be live streamed. You'll also heard from Janet that she will be broadcasting a live stream service on Monday at 5 p.m. There'll also be another service at Monday, Thursday in the evening, and Good Friday in the afternoon. Look at the Parish of White Regis website for details of the services coming up over this Easter period. And remember, when we're not on the air during the week, if you want local news from local people and from volunteers, you have 3 very good community radio stations. You have Keep 106, you also have Air 107.2, and you also online only have Chesil Radio. So do look to those local services. They provide one of the only sort of features of live news from our area, and of course the Dorset Evening Echo is the other one, both with their website and their printed newspaper. So until next week, at 6 o'clock. Have a safe week, have a good week, and hopefully have a happy Easter, and I will see you over the Easter weekend. So it's good night from me. See you next week.